Okay, so we recently kind of pivoted from what it means to have a spirit and the problem with de-spiritualization to the concept of how love feeds our spirit. And last time we discussed how important it is for us to define love correctly. Because if our spirit needs love, we have to know what love is. And because love is a word that's thrown around so often in so many different contexts, with so many different ideas of what it means, um, it's important that we actually figure out what love actually is, right? So last time I just gave um, an example of what I would call two kinds of love. The one that we start out with, which is an unconditional love, or if you'd like, it's conditional only on the idea that we were born to some parents. So just because we're their kid, they love us, which of course takes no effort on our part whatsoever. You know, the mother did all the effort in terms of birthing us, so we didn't even come into existence by our effort, and we didn't become her kid by effort. All the effort was on the parents' part, and we don't have to try to be their kid. We can't even help being their kid. We just were, and we're loved because of it. So if you want to call that either unconditional or an unchanging conditional, that we always meet that condition of being their kid, that's one kind of a love. And the thing about that kind of love, of course, is it doesn't really boost our ego. It doesn't really feed our, it doesn't validate us in a certain way that we want to be validated sometimes, because when we enter society, we enter into what is a second form of love, I would say, and that is, or at least attraction. Maybe love isn't quite the right word, but it's related to love. We're valued, we become valued more because of characteristics that we have, that we embody. And this is true not only in a social sense, like with our friends and potential boyfriend or girlfriend. It's even true in an academic sense and in a occupational sense. From the time we enter maybe middle school or so, we're kind of working on our resume. First, we're trying to apply to the popular group. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to be recognized by, if not the whole grade, at least by a subset of our grade, at least one of the social circles. We want to at least fit into one of them, right? And this has been done to death in movies, the whole cliques type thing. But it's because there's a real desire to fit in, to be liked or valued as part of a group, right? As an individual in a group, to be valued. But it takes work, it takes effort, usually. And so we do that. And then we also find out, of course, if we want to go into college, if we want to get a job, we also have to accomplish things. We have to add not only to our resume, not only personality traits, cleverness, a certain look, fashion sense, whatever, physique. We also have to have perhaps a list of accomplishments that prove that we're worth letting into the school or worth letting into the job or that kind of thing. So this creates pressure, a certain amount of pressure. And I'm not saying pressure is a bad thing. I think most people would agree that no pressure might be bad, but that too much pressure is also bad. There's probably a certain amount of pressure that keeps us striving, I guess, keeps us working on ourselves, but doesn't make us panic and feel like our lives are at stake if we don't pass a certain test or get a certain job. But anyway, so I discussed those two different ways of looking at love. Okay, and I did want to get into the whole idea of romantic love, which I did, and how so many songs describe love in a way that actually sounds like the person is more concerned about their own feelings, and they want to be around that other person because of the way that person makes them feel. We have love song lyrics that are just like this. The way you make me feel, right? Or I can't live if living is without you. or you complete me from the movie. Things like that. These are all phrases that show that you're fulfilling a need I have. And so I'm really, in a sense, looking out for myself, and I just happen to find someone who fills those needs, um, which can also put a lot of pressure on the other person. If someone said to me, "Oh, Jason, you complete me," um, that would cause some alarm for me because I don't want to complete them. That puts a lot of pressure on me. I feel like, oh no, if I pull away, will they be incomplete and crumple into an empty shell? I mean, they shouldn't put that much pressure on me to continually fill their incompleteness, I guess. It also implies that if I complete them, they complete me, like two pieces of a puzzle, I guess. And what if I don't feel the same way? That would be awkward, right? Anyway, the point is we have all these phrases in romantic songs and movies that really kind of indicate that the person likes the way they feel when they're around someone. And feeling is a big misunderstanding about love. We already said that love is about valuing another person and another person's well-being. Now, while it's important to consider other people's feelings, we're taught that from the time we're children. It's important to consider other people's feelings, but it's also important to understand what's actually good for them. And this is the tricky part, isn't it? This is another part. We already discussed one situation where one parent might think that the best way to prepare their child for a tough world is to be pretty tough. Another one thought the best way to raise their kid would be to make them know that they're always to be gentle and that home is a safe place and a haven outside of the tough world, because they're going to have enough tough world already. They don't need to have a tough home. So it's the same thing with feelings, right? Sometimes we get caught up in you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, and yet are the feelings the most important part? Is that what's best for someone's well-being, to make sure they feel a certain way? Well, we can see clearly that this can't always be the case, because if that were the case, a drug dealer could easily argue that he's very loving. He's a very loving person because he's just trying to make people feel good, and he's succeeding. The product he gives them, sells them, helps them to feel good. But of course, it's not good for them. And we learned this, whether you want to talk about drugs or food, nutrition, the foods that taste the best never seem to be the ones that are the best for us, right? And so true love, of course, is going to look out for the well-being of a person, and that often means not paying too much attention to how they feel, because how you feel doesn't reflect how you are, right? And we see this a lot with the way parents raise kids. There's things kids don't feel like doing, but the parents make them do it because they know it's good for them. It builds character. It forms healthy habits. But they might not feel like going to bed at a certain time. They might not feel like brushing their teeth. They might not feel like eating their vegetables. They might not feel like a whole lot of things that parents make their kids do because they know it is actually good for them. And we would say, most hopefully would say, that's a loving thing to do, to make your kids do things that they don't feel like doing, but you know is good for them. But we have all these love songs that indicate about how feeling is so important all of a sudden. When we were kids, we're taught it wasn't the most important thing. What was most important is what's good for us, right? It's a fact that broccoli has more nutritional value than a lollipop. So while one might feel better, one is better for you to ingest, right? But then suddenly in romantic love, we kind of get into feeling so much. So it's important for us to identify, when we say that the spirit needs love, what are we talking about? So I'm going to go back to the first part. It's about what is good for someone. But I'm going to, again, point out the second part, which is people don't always agree about what's good for them. And the third part, which is we often say we're loving someone or think we love someone when essentially what we're really doing is loving ourselves, because being with that person fulfills a need that we have. Being with that person makes us feel a certain way, right? And that's the kind of stuff you hear in a lot of romantic movies, or in romantic movies or songs. Like I realized you're the one. I can't live without you. I can't imagine my life with anyone else. You're the one who makes me happy. You're the one who does this. And what they're really confessing, of course, is I really love myself a lot, and you happen to fill the needs that I have. You happen to make me feel the way I like to feel. So please come into my life full time, because it's important that I feel this way. And I hate to make that sound like a really bitter or a romantic or unromantic thing, but it's in there. You can see it. Okay, so if love is what our spirit truly needs, then it's similar, I think, to food. And not all foods are the same, and not all loves are the same. So the most nutritious food, the food that we truly need, would be the greatest love that there is. And the greatest love there is going to be defined by these three things. One, this is a love that doesn't force us to earn the love. We're loved simply because we exist. Simply being a human being is enough. Just like simply being your parent's child is enough for them to love you. Yes, they may want you to do things because they care about you, and they know that if you go down a good path, it's going to be for your betterment. If you go down a bad path, it's going to hurt you. And so yes, of course they want you to steer down a certain path, but their love doesn't change if you go down that bad path. They just have to, help you get off that bad path and back onto a good path. And they're disappointed, but they're disappointed because you're hurting yourself, because you're making decisions that are bad for you, right? So yes, while their love does want you to go take it down a certain does want you to go down a certain path, perhaps, it isn't contingent upon you going down that path. They love you even if you don't go down that path. Two, the second thing is because it's important in order to do what's best for someone, you actually have to know what's best for someone. The greatest love is going to come from someone who knows you very, very, very well, and has a lot of wisdom and truly knows what you need. Because we don't always know what other people need. We don't even always know what we need. We think we do, and then we get what we thought we needed, and it turns out we didn't need it at all. In fact, not only do we not need it, it kind of made things worse, maybe. So we need someone who loves us simply because we exist and because of who we are, not because of anything we add to it or try to achieve. Someone who knows us really well, and so actually does know what's best for us and can lead us in a way that is what's best for us. And three, someone whose love for us is not confused with a love for themselves. They don't actually need us at all. We don't fulfill any need in them, right? They love us despite the fact that they don't gain nearly as much from us as we gain from them. They're pouring out love upon us, not because they feel good when we're nearby, because we complete them or satisfy some need in them. They're fully satisfied already. They're fully satisfied, but they love us because they are a loving being, and they love us simply because of who we are. And so there's no selfishness involved, there's no lack of knowledge involved, and there's no conditions involved. This is the purest form of love, and it is love that our spirit needs. And this love comes from, of course, God. And we're going to pivot to a whole new topic, which is the love of God. God's love is the love we need. It is a love that comes from a place of completeness. God is already complete. We'll cover all this next time. God is complete. He doesn't need to be added to. He doesn't need us for him to feel a certain way or to complete him. God knows exactly what's best for us. So when he steers us, unlike even our well-meaning parents who don't always know what's best for us, they're trying, but God actually does always know what's best for us. So we can trust him to lead us in a way that is actually for our betterment, right? And third, it's unconditional. Of course, he wants us to take certain paths because he knows those paths are better for us. He wants us to behave in a certain way because he knows it's better. He knows it's better for us. He knows it's good for us. So of course, he doesn't want us to do what's bad for us. But our choosing to do good or bad is not what causes him to love us. The love that he has for us is tied up and bound up in his person. It's his characteristic. Loving is his characteristic. It is not that we are lovable or can become lovable. Or, again, with the parent example, or you could say we already have, it is conditional on us being a human, but that's a condition that he gave to us and can never be taken away. So, what do you want to call that? Unconditional, or a condition that's already been met and cannot be unmet? It's kind of splitting hairs. The point is, there's nothing we have done nor can do to earn that love, and yet we are loved because it is to his credit. It is from him, and not of anything that we do. And we'll get to that all next time as we start a new topic, the love of God, the food for our soul, spirit, whatever.